Hello out there. Happy holidays. It is one day before Thanksgiving. These are the holidays that we have been looking for. It seems to me that we just started this year, like, it was just January and we were doing our detox. It goes fast. But listen, today we're going to be answering your questions live, and we are talking about any of the questions that you have had. And it looks like we got questions regarding the holiday, which is really very timely, that we're going to be answering today. So I want to welcome you here for our live Q&A. This is week 3, and like I said, we're going to be doing this for about 12 weeks. So we're going to have you ask all the questions that you want concerning type 2 diabetes and these inflammatory conditions and all of the different questions that are burning in your heart. And you can actually go back to some questions that we answered on last week and then and then on week 1. So I'm hopeful that you had an opportunity to see that. I see a lot of views, not necessarily live, but I do see a lot of views with questions that have come to answer. So we're going to answer those questions today. I want to get to my list of questions. And it looks like there were a lot of questions about the holidays, about what to do during the holidays. So we're going to get to those questions right now. Here's a question that comes from Vanessa M. And let's see, Vanessa says, how do I enjoy the holidays without my blood sugar going crazy? That is an absolutely amazing question because many people, as I did my residency at Hopkins in Baltimore and Sinai Hospital, I don't know if you know or did not know, I did 2 residencies combined in internal medicine and one in physical medicine and rehabilitation before I, did my subspecialty. But what was very interesting is that thank you so much. What is very interesting is that I always noticed, this is a thing, we always noticed that around the holidays, we had more people in the emergency room because of chest pain and blood sugars going out of control. And so this is something that is a really, really good question. So how do you stop that from happening? How do you stop this major catastrophe, this health catastrophe from happening during the holidays? And that is something that begs an answer. And so what I would like to say is that I want you to think of the holidays not as deprivation. This is not like a punishment, but I want you to use a strategy. And it's always important to strategize on what you're going to do during the holidays. You see all of these delicious foods around you. Trust me, I know, I come from a large family, and, everybody's bringing all different kinds of things. And so here's the thing that I find most important about the holidays and what to do to keep your blood sugars from spiking, going up and down, and just keeping your blood sugars more steady. And it really is going to be based on what you do, obviously. But my goal is to help you to learn how to keep your blood sugars more stable than going to these crazy high fluctuations. And so the first thing that I would suggest that you do is to choose your food on purpose. Choose what you eat on purpose. And by that, what I mean is you're going to, I think we've talked about this on last Q&A, that the thing that keeps your blood sugars most stable is to combine it with a stabilizer. And so what do I mean by a stabilizer? When sugar comes with fiber, then the fiber will keep your blood sugars more steady. When sugar comes with a protein, it'll keep your blood sugars more stable. Now, it gets tricky when we talk about fats. And I know that there are plenty of people who do the keto diet, and that diet does work initially, but it's not sustainable. But here's the thing that happens is that if we can key it with the right foods, then we can get your blood sugars to be much more stabilized by adding it with fiber. So make sure that you load up on fiber rich foods. So that's going to be fruits and vegetables, and then use your protein as well. And your blood sugars will stay a lot more steady than going in these spiky directions, going up and down. And then the thing that will be important about that strategy is that it will be very important for you to try to work to strategize what you're going to do and choose the foods. Like, just because the food is there doesn't mean you have to have it, right? And so you first have to make a decision, about your health. Do I want to do this? How important is this to me? And then the third thing that I would suggest is that you don't have to pile the plate on with huge portions of things. Say you like this particular food, do a smaller portion of that, and then have more of the fiber rich foods around, right? More of the proteinaceous foods. Try to stay away from fatty foods, fried foods, oily foods. Those things are actually going to keep your blood sugars going in a higher direction. So that is good. So make sure you choose your joy food, because there is a joy food that you can consume on the holiday. Choose your joy food, and I put that in quotes. Choose your joy food on purpose. All right, so you can enjoy the celebration without sacrificing your health. So that was coming from Vanessa. The second question is, what should I do? And this happens a lot. What should I do when my family pushes foods on me? This is from Brian H. And Brian, this is a great question, because holidays definitely come with love, but it also comes with pressure. And so it kind of goes back to what we talked about in question number 1, is make sure that you have decided in your own mind that you're going to set yourself some boundaries, right? You're going to set yourself some boundaries, Brian, right? You want to set yourself some boundaries that says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to do this. Make the decision before dinner. That's number 1. Number 2 is you can come up with a script that is just beautiful, and people tend to honor your boundaries, or they should honor your boundaries, but you just stand firm, and you can say something like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This looks so delicious, but I'm going to pace myself. I'm just trying to listen to my body this year. I want to make sure that I take care of myself, right? And people don't tend to argue with that, especially when you're talking about you're trying to take care of yourself and your health. And it's so interesting that sometimes you can make decisions like this, and other people will stand up because you did. And so that would be my suggestion, Brian. You don't owe anybody any explanations. You just want to be, just offer clarity about your health, and then what your health boundaries are. All right, question number 3. How do I handle holiday desserts, because they're everywhere? And Lord, this is so true, because I just, going, working in the surgery center and the physician's lounge. Every day there's all of these different pastries. There's donuts in the morning. If you come in the afternoon, they got all these cakes and pies and all of those different things. And they all smell wonderful, and they're all very tempting, and you want to, like, kind of partake of it, but you choose, again, you make the choice, right? Because it's there, it doesn't mean that you have to have a piece of everything. That's number 1. Number 2 is, maybe you say, you know what, I like apple pie, for instance. Well, get a small piece of apple pie, right? We're not talking about deprivation during the, especially during the holidays, especially because for some people this is a new thing, right? So you might cut yourself a small piece of pie, and don't just gobble the pie down, right? Take the pie, sit down, right? Make it conscious, make it a conscious thing. So you're going to sit down, take a piece of the pie, and eat the pie, chew it 20 times. Like, this is so delicious. Try not to talk if somebody's in there with you. Yeah, oh, this is delicious. But try to focus on the food that you're eating. Be conscious, be in the moment with your dessert, right? And just savor the flavors on each bite. it is so much more satisfying when you can take a bite and contemplate on it instead of just eating it mindlessly. So I think that that would really be beneficial for you, because you want to enjoy it with intention. And then you prevent, if you enjoy it with intention, then you can kind of prevent the all day grazing effect, right? Or if you want to graze, maybe you take a piece of that pie and you cover it up and then come back a little bit later and take another bite, right? If you need to, if you're a grazer, don't eat it all at one time, then just take smaller pieces of it. And the interesting thing that what that will do for you is if you take it's easier for your body to handle, let's say 20, a gram of sugar than to handle 20 grams at one time, right? If you take a gram of sugar, some sugary food, and you allow your body to handle that, and then come back and eat a little bit more later, and it's another gram of sugar, allow your body to handle that, and then maybe come back and take a third bite and let your body handle that. And your body can, then the insulin will come, there'll be enough insulin to come to try to lower that blood sugar instead of eating it all at one time and making your blood sugar go sky high. So that's a great question because it definitely happens significantly during the holidays. Okay. Now, here is another question from Daniel. Why is my blood sugar around higher around the holidays, even when I'm eating the same way as when it's not the holidays? And that excellent question. And I have two words for you. One is stress, and the second one is sleep. Last week, we talked a little bit about cortisol, so go back and check that out. But cortisol is your stress hormone, and you will find that these holiday schedules, you're traveling, you're emotional, you got late nights, you're cooking you're cooking at night. If you're not cooking, somebody else is cooking in the house. Maybe you got work to do that you're trying to hurry up and get done before the holidays because you got these quarter four tasks that you have to take care of before the end of the year. So all of these different stressors will be in they will play a very key part of why your blood sugar levels are going up and out of control. So sometimes it's really not the food, even though, as we talked about, there's food everywhere as well, right? So you got food over here and food over there and food over here and all these pastries and cookies and candies and all those different kinds of things. It may not necessarily be the food. It could be like what's going on in your environment. So, protect your sleep. Make sure that you schedule yourself breaks to take a deep breath, and just maybe just try to keep your routine steady. Okay. Next question is it okay to take a break from my plan during the holidays? This is from Janice. Um, and I just want to ask you this question. Do you need to take a break from feeling good? And that's a question you have to answer for yourself. Do you take a break? Do you need to take a break? Does your health take a break, right? And I think that this is something that we kind of fail to real something that we fail to think about is that our health is an ongoing thing, and every day you want to be working on improving your health. And so should you take a vacation from your health? For me, the answer would be no, because my health is never on vacation. But I would suggest just using balance. Allow it to balance. A balanced holiday means like enjoying things. You enjoy the season, and do it with intention. Use some of the techniques that we just talked about before, pacing yourself, balancing yourself. And it doesn't require a whole lot, but I know that people, there has to be some level of discipline that you have yourself. And you know what? Also remember this, that alcohol can actually spike your blood sugar. So really take it easy on the alcohol during the holidays. And just as an incident, it's incidental fact is that we always talk about red wine is good for your heart, and that is indeed true. But the benefit doesn't come from the alcohol. The benefit comes from the resveratrol, which is in the skin of the grapes. So you can skip the alcohol, eat the grapes with the skins on it, and enjoy that. The other thing is that because the sugars can spike your sugar, is that having a having one glass of wine might work, but a second glass of wine, especially for women, will increase your risk of breast cancer by 20%. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Just be wise and protect yourself. Next question is, what do I do? This is Alicia. What do I do if my glucose spikes unexpectedly during a holiday event? And this definitely happens. This is important. Okay, wait. Let me. Apparently, sorry, I should have put myself on do not disturb, but I did not. Please forgive me for that. My niece. But here, let me go back to the question. um, I lost the question now. Oh, wait, is that right? I'm sorry. Give me just a second to get it together. She's discombobulating me. Um, Here we go. Uh, oh, what do I do if my glucose spikes? I had get back on track. Okay, so here's what you do. Don't panic, right? Take a deep breath. And the thing is that what's interesting about glucose is that glucose really wants to be in your bloodstream. And one of the ways that you can drive glucose into your bloodstream is taking a walk. Take a 10 to 15-minute walk. Make sure you monitor your blood sugar levels. Monitor how you're feeling. If you're symptomatic, if things are going on, you're dizzy or you're feeling shaky, all of these different things, because it can go really low or it can go very high. Just monitor your symptoms. If you're symptomatic, then attend to that, right? If you just notice that your blood sugar is high and you still feel pretty good, take a 10 to 15-minute walk and then check your blood sugar again and see if your blood sugar level has gone down. Also, make sure you drink plenty of water and do a purified water, and try to get good water, right? Try not to get the acidic waters that we talk about. And there's a video that I talk about waters, and if I find that link, I'll link it to this video. Maria is here, so give me a reminder, Maria, to look for the video about water. Maybe you can find that right now, and see if you can link that in the comments section. So make sure you drink plenty of water to hydrate yourself. Oh, and also take deep breaths, right? Just take deep breaths. It kind of gets you calm. It lowers your cortisol levels. Taking a deep breath and being, just being in the moment and relaxing. Because when you get really panicked, what is that going to do? It's going to increase your cortisol level, which is going to increase your sugar level even more. So you want to just try to stay calm. Like, we can handle this. Let me take a walk. Let me take a breath. Let me put down that piece of cake. Let me drop the alcohol. Let me not drink the alcohol. Put away whatever it is that spiked it, and then try to take a walk and calm yourself down. Drink some water and try to enjoy yourself with a calm spirit. Okay, you really have more control than you think. Okay, I skipped a question. Oh, oh, this is kind of similar. How can I politely decline alcohol without feeling awkward? Um, It's very interesting that, again, making a decision for yourself and knowing the different things about alcohol, it is still presenting your boundaries, right? And somebody may, everybody's drinking some alcohol. I don't drink anything. I don't drink wine or anything like that, but I'm often with people who do drink. And it's so interesting because people typically respect your boundaries. And I find that people try to honor what I have the decision that I've made. And so I might say, like we talked about when family is around and the family is saying, eat this or eat that or whatever, just tell them, you know what, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I'm focusing on my health right now. And would you mind giving me a Shirley Temple? Would you mind making me a mocktail? Can I have a virgin mojito with blackberries? It's so delicious. Okay. Like there's a way to still feel good. And if that makes you feel like a part of the crowd, you can do that. I often will get a cranberry juice with a twist of lime in it, or I'll get like I love the blackberry mojitos, and I'm always trying to ask them to make some, like I'll say, well, what do you have? Stay away from things like pina coladas or daiquiris. They tend to have a lot of sugar in them. So you want to stay away from those kinds of things, virgin drinks, even virgin drinks, because they're going to have a lot of sugar in them. And so that'll give you some spikes. But if you did like a mojito, those tend to have a lot less sugar. And then you can also tell the person, make sure it's not sweet, not too sweet. Because sometimes they kind of do like the pumps of syrup in them, and you can say just one pump. If they're going to do any pumps, can you just do half a pump for me, or let the sweetness, most of the sweetness, come from the blackberries. And I think, or you can do blackberries. That some people will do mango. They may have cranberry. I don't know. Whatever the flavors are, ask them what their fruits are, and do that. Whatever their fresh fruits are, and do that, and that'll keep your blood sugar a lot better. And so just be wise, just be wise and be protective of yourself. Remember, your health never goes on vacation. All right, here's another question from Gerald. How do I avoid overeating during big family gatherings? Um, It is interesting at family times. Everybody's laughing and talking, and everything is just going great. And sometimes you're just eating and you're not thinking about what you're eating. And I think this goes back to being present, being in the moment, knowing what you're putting on your plate, and being intentional about what you put on your plate. There is power in your plate. I think that it's important to remember that food is medicine. And when you look at your plate, look at it and ask yourself, is this medicine? Is this going to do anything for me, right? Uh, if the answer is yes, then by all means indulge. If it is no, then how can you make your plate more powerful without sacrificing your satisfaction? All right. And so one of the things that you can do is add more fiber on your plate. Many times people have a nice spread, and maybe salad is kind of at the end. So people tend to fill their plate up with everything else, and then there's no room for the salad. Maybe start at the opposite end and put salad first, and then your vegetables and all that kind of stuff, and then make sure your protein is smaller. So when we talk about the power of the plate, how powerful the plate is, you want to have like half your plate fibrous, those fibrous things, because what is that going to do? Recall that when it's fibrous, it's going to keep your blood sugars very steady. So you want to do that, and then you want to do your whole grain. So it might be rice and peas, it might be rice, it might be stuffing, it might be whatever. Put that as a quarter of your plate, and then in the other quarter of your plate, remember, half the plate is fibrous food, a quarter of the plate is going to be like a grain, and then another quarter of the plate is going to be your protein, right? And you'll be able to taste your things. So you might say, okay, if this quarter of the plate is my protein, let me you remember, and you want to do about 3 ounces of that protein, which is about the size of your fist, right? So just imagine if you put your fist there, and say you want smoked turkey and you want sliced turkey. Well, then maybe do half of that quarter smoked turkey, the other half sliced turkey. And that way you get to taste both of them without overpowering your plate and losing the power of that plate. So that would be a suggestion that I would have for that. And remember again to always stay hydrated. You might want to drink water before you eat, because sometimes when we think that we're so hungry, it's really our body begging for water because it needs to be hydrated. So try drinking some water first so that you're well hydrated. Put some lemon in your water. Another trick that I like to use is to get a cup of hot water and put lemon in it and drink that before you eat, and it starts to get your body ready for digestion. All of the digestive enzymes are starting to work, and they're ready for when you put in the other food, and they'll be able to break it down a lot better. It'll get your liver more prepared to be able to monitor and to control and keep your blood sugar balanced. So I like to do that. So drink water before. You can drink the hot water with lemon. Those are really good tricks that you can do beforehand, and then remember the power of your plate. Let's see. Kimberly asks, what are some healthy swaps to holiday comfort foods? Now, I don't even know why I forgot to mention this ahead of time, but in the chat, I think that, yeah, in the chat, you can click on there, and there are recipes in the chat that have a lot of comfort foods, and they're just made a different way. Still extremely delicious, because I told you I am a foodie and my food needs to be delicious. But there's a way to do it that you will really enjoy your food. So make sure you click on the holiday recipe book. We can use it for Thanksgiving and for Christmas holidays. So there's so many recipes in there. I've forgotten. I think there's over 100 recipes in there that you can use for the holidays to make sure that you satisfy your taste buds during the holidays. It's gorgeous recipes, delicious recipes. I've gotten all kinds of calls from people who have the cookbook, and they started telling me how they've tried these different things and they're delicious, and that they just, because sometimes you gotta, like, I gotta try this before I serve it to people, and I totally get that. Try the cookbook. There's so many different foods in there that have it. But here are some swaps, some other swaps. Like, you can do, like, a lot of times we have sweet potatoes. We do candied yams, right? Why do we have to have them candied, right? We can have sweet potatoes. They don't have to be candied. What tends to happen with candied yams is they put a whole lot of sugar and a whole lot of butter. And then the rest of it is seasonings, right? The cinnamon, maybe nutmeg, different things like that. Well, if we can also swap that and do, like, baked cinnamon sweet potatoes, and instead of using sugar, sweeten them with maple syrup. That has a lower glycemic index, and so if you can swap the brown sugar and the white sugar for maple syrup, and it'll lower your glycemic load. So that is a problem that you can use. And then eggnog, right? The eggnog is oh man, I used to love eggnog when I was growing up. And eggnog was like my absolute favorite thing. I couldn't wait for Christmas time to do eggnog. So what do I do now? Because dairy is so inflammatory, and I do have a video about inflammation, and how inflammation works, and how that increases your blood sugar levels, or how it increases your risk for type 2 diabetes. And if I find that one, I'll link it as well. But there is a thing called almond nog, right? And I like to make it. So I'll make it with a nut milk, and I will use the nutmeg, vanilla extract. Here's one of my hacks is to give you that kind of fatty feel, a little bit, like, how the eggnog is kind of a fatty feel, or taste. I will do a combination of vanilla extract almond extract, a little bit of almond extract, and then you can use that rum extract and put those in there. That'll put a really good combination of flavors in there. Put in your cinnamon and your nutmeg and the almond milk. You can also put in a little bit of coconut milk if you want a little bit more fat. You can mix that in with it, but not like, you don't want too much fat from the coconut and all that kind of stuff. But you can kind of mix a little bit in there to kind of give you that fatty feel and that flavor. And so those are things that you can actually put in there. And then, garnish it really pretty and put in like, top it with a little bit, sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on it, maybe put a cinnamon stick in it. And there's this seasoning called star anise, and maybe too late to get that for Thanksgiving. But for Christmas, it can happen. Star anise, you can just put a little star anise on the top of it. It's just really pretty, and it adds so much flavor, like the depth of flavor, like you want the flavor to be all the way through it. And so what I love about that is the cinnamon's going to lower your blood sugar levels. It's also going to lower your blood pressure levels. You got all of these anti-inflammatory components. The star anise, they're full of antioxidants, and they're lowered. Like, I believe in not sacrificing flavor, but increasing healing at the same time. It works beautifully. So make sure you get the cookbook, because there are so many different ideas that you will have from doing that. So those are good swaps. I do have there is a I have a macaroni and cheese, one that's made with a cheesy sauce, one that's made with a vegan cheese in there, and here is a hack for macaroni and cheese, because in one of my videos I talk about gluten and how gluten damages the beta cells of the pancreas that's important for secreting the insulin. And because it damages the beta cell, then the beta cell can't secrete the insulin to bring the blood sugar into the cell, to bring the glucose into the cell where it wants to produce your energy. That's why people tend to feel so tired when they're diabetic, because the blood sugar, the glucose has not gotten in there. That's what the mitochondria is using, like in the factory of making energy for you. So I would certainly recommend then to uh, get gluten-free macaroni noodles. That is such a huge help, because now you're already decreasing, number one, the glycemic load, and number two, you're also decreasing the inflammatory properties of that gluten, because that gluten is going to go in and damage the beta cells. So I recommend gluten-free, and gluten-free products are so much better than they used to be. I mean, they used to be so gummy and tasteless and just not delicious at all. And so I would be a little bit more reticent to tell you to use them. But now they're so much better. My youngest daughter, like, didn't like gluten-free anything. She's like, Mom, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I couldn't blame her. I couldn't, but I made her some pasta yesterday, and we sauteed lots of tomatoes and spinach and artichoke and garlic and red pepper flakes. I'm getting a little spicy, and I put capers in there, and I put in fresh basil and fresh garlic, and just sauteed that. It was a clear sauce with a little olive oil, just to keep it pliable, not to make it oily or greasy. And she was like, Mom, this was so good. And I was like, that was gluten-free pasta. She was like, Mom. So that's like our ongoing thing. When I end up telling her, that was gluten free, and she's like, I did not know that. So that's really exciting. And the ways that they have to do it now are so much better. And I didn't realize that I was over time. We're spending 30 minutes together. I still have other questions. And we still have more time together, because we have 9 more weeks of answering your questions. So if you have questions that you want to have answered on this platform, make sure you submit your questions to support@P as in pain, the number 2, the letter W, and the word health spelled out.com. So submit your questions to support@P2, the number 2, whealth.com. If you go to Pain to Wellness, that is not me. It is Pain to Wellness Healthcare. And so that healthcare is important to make sure you submit those questions to that. And we'll have your questions available and we'll talk about your questions on next Wednesday. We're going to meet every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Time to answer your questions live right here for your answers. Don't forget to get the cookbook to give you some absolutely incredible ideas and some delicious recipes that the only person that has to know that they're healthy will be you. Other than that, nobody else has to know, right? And so enjoy your holidays. I'm so excited that you were able to join us here today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions, and we will see you again next week. I love you. Bye bye. Health is the new currency. Spend yours wisely. See you next time. Bye bye.